I started dancing when I was 2. So I've been doing it really for as long as I can remember. And I first got into dance because I come from a family of 7, so a very large family, and my 2 older sisters were in dance when I was growing up. And my mom, being a single parent, she couldn't leave me at home. There was no one to watch me. So I'd have to go to the studio a lot of the time. And when I was there, I'd just be bouncing around dancing to the music, or I'd be staring into the class. And I think my mom just realized that I really wanted to do what they were doing. And she put me into my first dance class, and I've never stopped since then. So I'm very grateful that she was, keeping an eye on me and saw that passion I had for dance. And after that, I kept training, and I didn't actually start hip hop until I was maybe 7. So, because when you start off, it's pretty normal that you start with ballet, tap, and jazz, I believe, is pretty standard. And so I didn't even know what hip hop was. But the first time I tried it, I was like, oh, this is what I love. This is what's meant for me. There's no technique. There's no right or wrong way. It's all about feeling. And that's what I love about dance in general, but especially hip hop. And then from there, I kept training. I started taking dance really seriously when I went into 6th grade, because I auditioned for Denver School of the Arts, which is a very, what's the word, like, just like, it has a big name and it's very like prestigious. And so I auditioned for that, and I got in, and I was so excited. And that's really when I like started taking it seriously, and I was like, this is what I want to do, and I need to work really hard so I can achieve those, dreams. And then in 7th grade is when that incident happened with that studio director. And if you haven't heard the story, I do tell it a lot, but if you haven't heard it, this studio director, I went to his studio for a year, and it was great. There was never any issues. But at the end of the year, he comes up to my mom and I, and his words were, "I'm sorry, but your body type doesn't fit the vision I have for my team." And he kicked me out of not only the competition team, but I couldn't even take class at the studio. Like, he wouldn't let me step foot in there because of my size. And it was just, I had never gone through an experience like that. I knew that I was different, or, people might not have thought I should have been dancing, or I kind of stuck out a little bit, but I really never thought it'd get to the point where I can't take class somewhere because of the way I look. And I was so confused and shocked and like at a loss for words. And I'm really lucky that I had a parent who, yes, of course, supported me, but also wasn't afraid to like give me that tough love. Because after a few days of me being upset, she was like, okay, Amanda, this happened. No matter what you do, you can't change it. You can't change his mind. He already has an opinion about you. So there's no point in just dwelling on this. You're not helping yourself, and you need to move on. And so she gave me that, tough love, kick in the butt. And I started training again at a different studio, of course. And then I moved to LA about 2.5 years later, 3 years later. And we've been going ever since then out in LA.
Wow. I mean, I can imagine how that would have made you feel. And like you had said, that confusion, just like not understanding why you couldn't even train. But you had said you kind of always had this idea that you stuck out or you were a little bit different. Did you have any insecurities because of that up to this point, or?
Yeah. Well, something that's really interesting, and a lot of people have told me this, and it really kind of like opened my eyes, but it's kind of sad. And it's like, none of the people in the world would have any insecurities if it wasn't for like how judgmental people are and how people perceive us. And when I was growing up, I was such a carefree kid. I wasn't worried about what, Michelle next to me is thinking about me. I was just excited to be dancing, and it was just fun and carefree. But as you get older, you just start getting all these different opinions about you from other people. And that really affects your self-esteem. Obviously, when you hear people telling you that you're not pretty, or you're not fit, or your body isn't good enough, or just you're not good enough, you're gonna take some of that with you and internalize that. And that's going to become like your, how does RuPaul say it? Your inner saboteur, he would say. And that voice is always going to be in your head telling you, you know, you're too this, you're not enough of that, you know, you're never going to be successful, you're worthless. And that comes from all these different people in your life telling you that. And so it's just really sad to think of how better, or how much better the world could be if we all just worried about ourselves and worried about what makes us happy and our growth, and just stay in our own lane and mind our business.
Mm-hmm.
But like I kind of touched on before, I really didn't get insecure until the things like that incident happened when I was 11, that really like opened my mind, like, oh wow, people are mean, and this is going to be something I have to deal with a lot. Even though I shouldn't, and I should be able to just dance and train like everybody else, that's not how the world works, at least not yet. And so it definitely brought out insecurities that I didn't have before. Like I said, I wasn't really insecure in my body, but you know, after that, I didn't like wearing like sleeveless shirts because my arm fat or whatever, it jiggles. I didn't like wearing shorts because my legs, I have short, stumpy legs. I didn't like tight fitting shirts because of my stomach. Like, definitely there were repercussions from that experience that still, even today, are there and prevalent. So, and that kind of also touches back on, in a more negative part of it, touches back on everything's connected. So there's definitely, it's a domino effect, whether it's positive or negative. There's an effect, and it sticks with you for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like your mom was a huge part of why you didn't stop dancing. Do you think you would have stopped dancing otherwise? And
Yeah, it's hard to say
yeah.
because I knew that I was very passionate about it. I think I probably for sure would have taken a longer break, or I don't know, but maybe I would have tried another hobby, and then I'm sure I probably would have come back to dance.
Mhm.
But I am very happy that she could look past that experience and see my passion through that and my love I had for dance, and she didn't want to take that away. And another thing that I tell a lot of people is, and this is in no way like telling people how to parent their kid or that this is wrong, but a lot of parents naturally would have pulled their kids out of that environment. You know, if you see your kid getting hurt or bullied, you don't want that. You want to keep them safe and you want to make them feel happy and loved. But like I said, my mom, she could see through that, and she could see the bigger picture, and she knew that that's what made me happy, and I just had to find the right environment and find the right people and path. So I'm so lucky, but I think I would have come back to dance eventually. I just might have taken a longer break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, so that your mom sounds like she was a huge advocate and a huge part of why you had continued and also continued so quickly. And it also sounds like your passion and love for dance, for the sport, this medium, this art is what moved you forward. Was there anything else? And maybe this is just like advice for people listening, because I think a lot of people would have given up on their dreams after such a crushing experience, but you didn't. So, was there anything else that helped you keep pushing forward, even though you received this pushback?
Definitely. First, I do want to say also that I was very lucky to have a parent or a guardian or someone that I looked up to that kind of could help guide me through that. I know a lot of people around the world, especially kids, don't have that supportive person in their corner rooting for them. So it is, I'm not going to lie, it's more difficult if you don't have that person. But I would just say that if you don't try to succeed at what you love, you're gonna end up thinking when you're older, what if I would have stuck with it? Or what if I just did it for a little longer? What if something would have happened? Or what if I could have been doing this and this? And you know, I never want to look back and wish I did something else, or regret not trying something. And that's another thing is, you know, you can always try. And if it really doesn't work for you, you can always go on to something else. You don't have to commit to something forever. Like, you know what I mean? You don't commit for life for one job and it's like, oh, you chose your passion, you can't change it. So I would just say if you love it and you really want to try to be successful at it, keep going. And people are always going to have something negative to say. Even if you're the best dancer, actor, singer, model, whatever in the world, people are always going to have something negative to say. And sadly, I think that's just something that we all kind of have to get used to. Again, that shouldn't be the case, but the world is stupid. So we have to get used to that and kind of grow that thick skin. But once you kind of get past those first few experiences, again, this shouldn't be the case, but you get used to it and you're able to kind of block out that noise and really focus on yourself and why you're doing this. And that's also another piece of advice is remember why you're doing what you do, you know? It should be because you love it and you have a passion for it. It shouldn't be like, oh, I have to, or people are telling me to. No, just do what makes you happy, what you're passionate about. And it personally, my belief is if you're truly as passionate about something as you should be, then you can get through it because your passion, it won't let you stop. Like it won't let you. That's not an option. So find that thing that you're extremely passionate about and you'll be good.
Maybe this is a hard question and maybe you don't have an answer and that's okay because it sounds like you found your passion like right out the flipping gate. Do you have any advice for someone who's like, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I'm excited about in life.
Yeah, totally. Even though I did find what I was passionate about very early, even when I was dancing growing up, I tried so many different things. I did soccer, hockey, cheerleading, horseback riding, ice skating. I competed in for years. And again, I was really lucky that I had a parent who was willing to let me try things. And I think that was really beneficial. And I think that is really what helped me find my passion so early. So if you're struggling to find a passion, even though it might be tiring or, you know, hard, I would say just try a ton of new things that maybe you haven't tried before or you haven't thought of trying. And you'd be surprised, you know, what you'd find and what you'd find out about yourself and what you like. It's never like, even though it's scary, you should try new things. And it's okay if you don't like it. Like that doesn't mean anything. You're not a bad person. Like you didn't do anything wrong. You just are still trying to find what you're passionate about. And no matter how long it takes, if you keep trying new things and meeting new people or going to new places, you'll find something that you gravitate towards and that you love.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like so simple. It's like just try some things and see how it goes.
Yeah, just try things that maybe you've never thought of and you'd be surprised.
Yeah. So you've had like an incredible career. You are like freaking incredible. You have this breaking the stereotype hashtag and campaign, which I absolutely want to get into. For anyone listening, you know, you've been on America's Got Talent, you've been on Ellen, you've worked with Katy Perry, Rhianna, Lady Gaga, Lizzo, like this is like big, like the biggest names in this industry. So I'm curious, like, what has it been like living in Los Angeles, which is like this very appearance focused city, but you're also in a very appearance focused business. So what has that been like for you? And how has that played a role in the campaign of breaking the stereotype?
Yeah, well, obviously, as far as my movement goes, it's the biggest part of it. The movement wouldn't probably exist if I didn't look the way I do. You know, if I looked like every other dancer in LA, again, nothing wrong with that. But just if I looked like everyone else, I probably wouldn't feel the need to create this movement, campaign, hashtag, whatever you want to call it. And as far as just being a plus size dancer in LA, it's difficult. And the sad part is it's difficult for me, but I've been very lucky compared to a lot of other people. So I try to remind myself of that, you know, even though I've had plenty of hard times or people just being mean people, I've still had it a lot better than some others. But just something about being a plus size dancer, you always feel like you're being looked at or that your body's always in the conversation. And a lot of the time people ask me like, oh, where do you want to see the dance industry going? Or where do you want it in the future? What do you want it to look like? And I think a lot of people take what I say and they would think that, oh, I want all the dancers to be plus size. And that's not the case. That's not what I want. I don't want all dancers to look a certain way. But what I want is my body not to be part of the conversation. I want you to see my dancing and I don't want you to say, oh, but like she's plus size. Or, oh, she's plus size. I love that. I don't like that either when I only get stuff because of the way I look. I don't want appearance to be part of the conversation. And that's just my opinion. I want it to come down to the dancing and the talent and performance, and my body shouldn't come before that. And so I just want the dance industry to be more open. That's really what I want. More open, just more accepting of everyone.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting point that you had made of like, she's a dancer and I love her because she's plus size. And you don't really want it to be that either, because you just want to be acknowledged for your craft, for your
Yeah.
skill, for your talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if you've had this thought before that just came to me while you were speaking. It's like, to some degree, the thing that originally held you back was your body, right? Like, your body doesn't fit here, is perhaps also the thing that has maybe helped you be successful now. So it was this thing that you thought was like not okay. The body size has maybe been a part of your success. Have you thought about that? How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, I definitely have thought about that. And there are of course certain like things that I've done where I'm like, oh, I know I got that partly because of my body type, because I look different than, the normal dancers. But it's hard because there's definitely a line for me, at least, because I can like take myself, or what is it, like step out of myself and look at the things I've done and realize, okay, maybe a few of them I did get, or my body helped me get, because they wanted to like be diverse, or they like the message, or things like that. But when it becomes an issue is when people say I only get something because of the way I look, when in reality, I haven't got a ton of things that you don't know about because of the way I look. So it's definitely a line, because it's like, yes, on in some ways I have gotten more because of it, and I've definitely gotten more opportunities, and I've gotten the opportunity to create my own movement and inspire people, which I love. I just don't like when people discredit my hard work and my talent as a dancer, and just say, oh, it's just because your body. Like, you're not a good dancer, it's just because your body. That's when I don't like it, because I've worked really hard, and of course not in a cocky way, but I'm a good dancer, and that's why I get the jobs I do, not just because I don't look like everyone else.
Yeah, no, I love that. Totally. Yeah. And it, like you said, it kind of like discredits your talent and your skill and your hard work, and how much you've let your passion really be the driving force and to keep moving forward. Yeah. So I was reading an article about you, and you had said, one of the things that you had said is, when you walk into auditions, you get what you call the look. And I think everyone listening can kind of imagine this, or has experienced something like this in one way or another. Like, they walk into their families for the holidays, and like their mom looks them up and down, or they see kids from high school from their past, right? And they get the look. What has helped you work through that difficult experience, and moments maybe of or like, did it elicit self-doubt, or like you were really on the spot and you ended up doing this audition anyway? So what has helped you in that, when you get the quote, the look, and get back into a place of self-belief and belief in yourself and your skill and your talent?
Yeah. Well, for me personally, again, I've been out here so long, it's normalized for me. So I'm just kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever. But for the people that maybe not used to it, and they still feel really uncomfortable with that, that's totally understandable, because that's not a normal thing and they shouldn't be doing that. But I feel like almost in the beginning, I tried to kind of maybe flip the story around. So instead of, oh, they're looking at me because I don't fit in, or because of my body, I'm like, oh no, they're looking at me because like they know me. They know I'm amazing. I'm so good. Like, they're looking at me. And so I just kind of like change the intention of it. And even though they might not be looking at me for that reason, I can think that, and I can just be like, oh yeah, I look so good. They're looking at me, or they've seen me dance before. Like, they know me. So I just kind of try to make it more of a positive thing. But if you can't do that or struggle with that, I would just say that, like, at the end of the day, like I said before, everyone's gonna have something to say about you. Even if I was super thin, like, people would still have something to say about me. And so I kind of just realized that, like, there's never gonna be a look that everyone's gonna love. Some people are gonna hate it, some people are gonna love it. And so there's no point in like trying to change it, because you're never gonna satisfy everyone, which is sad, but you kind of just have to love the skin you're in, and just realize that you're there wherever you're going. If you get that look, you're there for you. You're not there for them, and they should be focusing on themselves. And by them focusing on you, they're actually hurting themselves, not you. If you just ignore it and focus on your craft and working hard and doing what you love, then that just becomes like background noise. And you're like, well, whatever. You do what you want. I'm here to better myself, to be successful, to do what I love, and look all you want.
Mm-hmm. I really love that first thing that you had said, because it's like, okay, you get this look. And so often we tell ourselves this really disempowering story. They don't like the way that I look. Something's wrong with me. Maybe my body is wrong, right? That's a story we're telling ourselves. And you've just decided to tell yourself a more empowering story. And that is just as accessible to do in that moment, as opposed to telling yourself that disempowering story, is to just tell yourself this more empowering one that helps you and moves you forward. I think that's a really practical thing that people can take with them, and I feel like I've kind of done that too in my own way. I didn't finish college, and I had a lot of shame around it. And I always felt like people weren't going to take me seriously, or I was never going to be successful. And then I just decided to start telling myself that, like, no, that's the reason why I'm going to be taken seriously. That's the reason why people are going to think I'm credible, because I just flipped the story in my head. And now that is my story about it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I love that. I know a lot of people I know I felt this way before in the past, and a lot of people listening have probably felt that their body and their appearance had to change, or they had to work to change it before they gave themselves permission to go after what they wanted to go after. So it sounds like you didn't decide, in order for me to be able to keep dancing, I have to lose weight and shrink myself. That wasn't what you did. You gave yourself permission to keep going after dance without trying to shrink and contort and diet and all of those things. So was that like a thought process that you had? If so, how'd you overcome it? And what would you say to somebody who is in that state where they're believing that I have to fix my body before I can go do what I want to do? What would you say?
Yeah, well, definitely before I moved to LA, not personally. I still love the way I looked. I knew I could do it, and I knew I was meant to be in LA, and if I worked really hard, I could, be successful and accomplish what I want to accomplish. But I talked to a few teachers that I had taken from before I came to LA, and I was like, yeah, I'm thinking of moving to LA. Any tips, or what do you guys think? And one of the people literally said, oh yeah, go on a diet, lose the weight, then go. It'll be a lot easier for you. And I was like, no, like what? What? No. And I don't think this is the right way to say it, but it's like, if you have to like change yourself to feel like you're worthy of trying something, that isn't good. Like there's a lot of issues with that. And it's not a problem with you, it's the problem with society and making you feel that way. But I would just say that if you wait for you to be perfect to try something, you're never going to try it, because you're never going to be pleased with the way you look, like, ever. Even if you have the perfect body, you're going to hate your hair, you're going to hate your face, you're going to hate your nose, you're going to hate your butt. Like, there's always going to be something that you want to change if you keep saying that. So if you do that, you're never going to try it. So you might as well go out, try it, be who you are, be authentic, and the right people will find you. And that's another thing. It's like, there are choreographers out here that won't give me the time of day because of the way I look. And I know that. And I don't it's obviously really wrong. I don't hate them, or I don't like wish bad upon them, but I'm glad that, like, in a way, the choreographers that love me and respect me as like a dancer. And I, like, if I was skinnier, a ton of choreographers would respect me, or dancers or directors or whatever. A lot of them would respect me as a dancer, probably a lot of them because I have the dancer body type. So I'm glad that I don't fit into that dancer body type, and I know the choreographers who value dance and talent. That's why I'm happy that I kind of stand out, or I'm not the typical dancer, because I know the choreographers that aren't shallow or stereotypical or fat phobic or anything like that. I know the choreographers that only take into consideration the dancing, and I love that, because I can filter out all the bad ones that I wouldn't want to work with anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it's sort of been this blessing in disguise of it's kind of been a filter, so degree. But also it sounds like just go for it.
Yeah.
Like, don't put it on hold. Don't try to change yourself. Just, you're worthy. Go give it a shot. Be authentic. Try it anyways.
Yeah. Because like I said, if you don't try it now and you wait to be perfect, you're never going to try it, because there's no such thing as perfect.
Yeah, definitely not. What do you think leads to confidence? And what do you think has helped you with your own confidence and self-belief?
Ugh. It's difficult because I always say like I was confident growing up, and I was to a certain extent, but like that doesn't mean that I never thought badly about myself or had those really bad days of, a terrible body image, or I was really self-conscious. Just because I was confident doesn't mean I was confident all the time. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something that a lot of people mistakenly believe, that like, oh, you're either confident or you're insecure. There's one or the other. And it's like, no, they're all blended together and everyone has days of both. But just, I think what really helped me is just focusing on myself, and again, doing what I love, doing what I'm passionate about. I'm doing what makes me happy, then I don't care what the other people are saying. And also, like, I kind of use, when people talk bad about me or whatever, or if they think I'm a terrible dancer, whatever, what they want to say, I try to use that as like fuel to the fire, you could say. So, whenever I get a really big job, I always think about the guy back home in Colorado who kicked me out of the studio. I'm like, oh, yeah, look what I'm doing now. You never did this. Like, my resume is better than yours, and you're like 40, and I'm 20. So, like, I use it to kind of like keep myself going and be like, yeah, man, keep going, keep going. Like, you just keep proving them wrong. You keep proving them wrong every time. So I use the negative to help fuel the positive that I want to see.
Yeah, totally. I love that. Have you ever talked to this guy ever again or had contact with this guy back in Colorado?
No, I haven't, but a few things. One, there's a magazine called Dance Spirit, and it's one of the biggest dance magazines. Like, all the studios around the world have it and like are subscribed to it. And it talks about the choreographers that are kind of being really successful right now, and like the shows that are going on, or dancers you should look out for, just everything about the dance world. And I was the cover in November 2018. That feels like so long ago, it's crazy to say. But I was the cover in November 2018, and I know he is subscribed to that magazine, so I just wish I could have seen his face when he opened it, and it's just my face on the cover, and just breaking the stereotype all across the bottom. I was like, oh, I wish I could have seen his face. But besides that, I'm still in like loose contact with a few of the people, the parents where their kids still go there. And they tell me that like they tell Brian what I'm doing, or like that's his name. So they tell us that they'll update him on what I'm doing. And he just has no comment. So pretty much ignores it. But I know that he knows what he did is wrong, and it feels good. It feels good.
Yeah, I think you missed out on getting to be somebody that helped you move forward. But it
Mm-hmm.
also maybe in a reverse way, he did help you move forward, right? Because
Yeah.
you've been using it to fuel. It's been rocket fuel for you in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever had moments where you feel really uncomfortable in your body? And
Mm-hmm.
what has helped you get back to a place of feeling comfortable, or just in general, what's helped you be comfortable in this, size oppressive, size judgmental world?
Sure. I could speak generally about it, but I think I want to talk more specifically about a specific experience. So I did the Savage Fenty show, Rihanna's show, in 2019. And if you haven't seen the show, it's a lingerie show, but we dance. So we're dancing in lingerie, which is very, if someone said, Amanda, you're going to be dancing in lingerie at 19 when I was like 10, I'd be like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not doing that. And when we were on set, like sometimes we'd have to rehearse, and like Paris, the choreographer, who's amazing, I love her so much. But she would ask us to wear like our bra and like underwear, like booty shorts, so she could see what the choreography would look like, in something similar to what we would be wearing. And I did it, but I was very like uneasy about it. Like, even though I'm confident, that was kind of a new level that I hadn't done before. And I don't dance in that. I dance in like leggings and a t-shirt. So I was like, this is very new. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable. But what really helped me is like everyone there. What helped me is that I wasn't the only one that looks like me there. And that's another thing that I just loved about the show in general, is that literally there were so many different people from so many different there were just so many different types of people, whether it was race or body size or height or gender identity or anything like that. There were so many different people and it was so diverse. And so I didn't feel alone. And if I think that if I would have been in a room with just a ton of smaller dancers and it was just me, I definitely would have been 10 times more uncomfortable. Just because again, I can't relate to anyone else and I just feel like I stick out. So to see like other dancers that looked like me and like they were doing it and they were confident, it really inspired me to be like, Amanda, this is like a completely like judgment-free place. Like we're doing this to prove a point, and literally you being uncomfortable right now is why you need to like do this show for other people. And so it was just really nice to have people that I could relate to. And it was also just such a loving environment that like I knew no one was going to judge me. Like all the dancers there, I knew no one was going to be like, oh, like, what's she wearing? Or like, oh, her legs. Or like that wasn't something that I was worried about. It was just in my head. But it was amazing. And I think that was a really good experience for me. And just doing the show in general, even when we were on stage and like performing it live for everyone, like it was a very liberating liberating experience. And I think it definitely boosted like my confidence and my comfortability in my body and wearing things that fat people aren't supposed to wear. I think it was really nice. And I think it was a pivotal moment for me. So that's like a specific experience where I might not have been the most comfortable.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you talked yourself through it and you also were just willing to feel that discomfort and keep doing the damn thing and not let that discomfort stop you. Because you totally could have been like, not dancing in my underwear, bye.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I kind of like what you said. A teacher, I took a dance class the other day, and someone was saying this, and it doesn't apply to everything, but for this and what we're talking about, if you do get that feeling of uncomfortability or discomfort, or something you're not used to, then it probably means you need to go through that to get to the other side, so you can kind of move on past that, or else that's just gonna constantly like stop you in your tracks and hold you back. So that's kind of something that you just kind of have to like suck it up and push through. But once you get to the end of it, you'll be a new person and it'll be really beneficial.
And it won't be as scary the next time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you feel that discomfort. You're like, okay, I didn't die. I survived. Okay, I think I could do it again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you build up this tolerance for discomfort, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. For people who have, well, okay, so first part of the question, have you always had this big of dreams, like to be working with these top performers, all of that? Like, were your dreams always this big? And then if so, what advice do you have people who also have really big dreams and goals?
Oh, I would say my dreams have always been pretty decently big. I don't know if they're quite or if they were quite as big as they are now, but I definitely knew that like I wanted to dance for like a living and I wanted that to be my job, which is already a pretty big dream for being like 9. I was like, I'm gonna dance forever and that's gonna be my job and that's all I'm gonna do. But they've definitely gotten bigger throughout the years. And I think if you have big dreams, I think you have to start somewhere. And I think that the mistake a lot of people make is they kind of skip some steps and they're like, okay, I want to be a pop star. So I'm going to go to Capitol Records and try to get a record deal, when it's like you missed so many different steps, you know what I mean? That probably would have made it a lot easier for you. Again, I don't know the singing industry. That's just like an example. But I think it's really important that before you take those big steps, you have to be ready for them. If you're not ready for them, you're not going to get anywhere. So, you know, for me, I didn't move to LA till I thought, okay, I have the training. I have taken all styles. I've trained in them. I've gone to auditions. I, you know, have my resume. I'm prepared mentally, physically, like I was ready for it. And then I moved. Because actually I was supposed to move a year and a half earlier, but I wasn't ready. And I decided that. I was like, no, Mom, I'm not ready. And so we waited. And then I moved out later. And I think that's something that's hard for a lot of people, because you just want to go right away. You're like, I want to do this. I want to do it so bad. I'm going to go. And that really can end up hurting you. So you have to make sure that you're ready. You've done the training, or you've made the foundation to build on top of it. Without a foundation, you're just going to fall over, you know. But with that being said, you have to start somewhere. So if you have big dreams, make sure, you know, you're doing what needs to be done. If you're dancing, start taking a lot of dance classes, take styles you're maybe not comfortable in, take teachers that you're not comfortable with to really help your dancing be more diverse and versatile, because that's very important. You can't do one style and expect to, be a huge dancer. Or if you're a singer, take vocal classes and make sure you have your range and you can read music and whatever. Just there's things that you have to do before you try to make it to the top level. But with that being said, like I said, you have to start somewhere. So don't be scared to take that first step or to take those first steps, and keep going. It's going to be a long journey, but you will get there as long as, like I said before, you have a passion for it and you're willing to put in the hard work. Then, you just got to keep going and you'll get there eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Start somewhere and build that foundation. Yeah. Yeah. There's this quote by Tony Robbins. He says, people underestimate or overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. And so it's like, we think we put in this work for a year and we're not, we haven't reached the big dream. We're not where we want to be. And so we're like, maybe we give up. But if you just keep going, you keep putting in that work, like you said, learning those different styles or whatever context this is applicable to, it's like you keep going and over time, you're going to get there. But you're not going to get there if you don't build that foundation and you don't start.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even when I moved to LA, it took me 2 years of training and auditioning to get my first job. So you definitely have to have perseverance, and you have to really want it, or else you're going to quit in 5 minutes and then you would have wasted your time.
I think that's really helpful for people to know that it was 2 years before you booked your first job.
Oh yeah. And that's how it is for a good amount of people. I don't know a single dancer that came out here and like, boom, was working all the time. Because first of all, you have to get used to the LA world. Very different. And now I'm used to it. I know it very well. I know the ins and outs. I know all the secrets, but it took 6 years to get to this point. But like I said, all the dancers that are working, now, me and that are doing jobs all the time, it took us years to get that first job. We had to make the connections. We had to get to know the choreographers. You have to get an agent. You have to get used to auditioning and what that's like. And then you can kind of start building your career, but it takes time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes time, and don't give up. So what are you said your dreams are bigger now because you've probably seen what's possible. You're like, wow, a lot of cool shit is possible. So now that you're like, okay, possibilities blown wide open, what are the big dreams and goals?
Yeah. I definitely get what you're saying. And again, this is not like in a cocky way at all. I'm a very humble person, but because I've been so blessed and I've been able to do such big jobs that were like huge dreams of mine that I didn't even think were possible. Like Rhianna knowing who I am, that could have been like my goal for my whole career. So definitely I agree with you that my dreams have gotten bigger as I've been able to achieve more, which is amazing. And that's how it should be. But right now there's a few. One of my biggest is I want to work with Ariana Grande, and that is because one, I just really like her, and I know like artists that I can like dance for and artists that kind of aren't in my wheelhouse that I probably wouldn't work for. You know what I mean? You kind of have to know what your demographic is and where you fit in. And I think Ariana Grande would be a great artist. And I also know her choreographers, and they are amazing and they're super sweet. And I just really love to tour with her. I'd love to be like her first plus size dancer. She's very inclusive and very, very like accepting. And I love that about her. But she still needs some body positivity and some, body diversity with her dancers. So I'd love to do that. And especially if I were the first one. She did have this girl named Allison, who I love, in her music video for 7 Rings, who is also a curvier woman. And she was amazing. But I'd love to be the first one to go on tour with her, if that makes sense. I'm pretty sure I'd be the first one. I'm pretty sure. Don't hold me on it, but as far as I know, she hasn't had anyone on tour. And then besides that, it's actually funny because growing up, my biggest dream was to be on Broadway. I didn't want to come to LA. I wanted to be on Broadway so bad. And then I kind of got away from that, and I was like, oh no, I'm just kind of focusing on LA and doing music videos and working for artists and doing performances and things like that. But now I'm back to Broadway. So now I want to be on Broadway again, and I just think it'd be perfect for me. I love dancing. I love performing for live audiences. I have a very big personality. I can sing, I can act. So like that's definitely a goal of mine that I have. Just trying to figure out how to get there. But you know, we're making those connections and hopefully that'll happen one day. So those are my two like really big goals right now that I have that seem unobtainable, but so did everything else that I've done. So who knows?
Yeah. Do you have, I totally see them for you, by the way. See this as a possibility for you. Do you have any dreams or goals for breaking the stereotype? Like a foundation, a nonprofit, like anything with that? Or what are your goals with breaking the stereotype aside from diversifying and opening the doors of dance?
Yeah, honestly, I've never really thought about like making it like an organization or like an actual like business or like anything like that. But honestly, I'm gonna keep that in mind. I don't know why I've never thought about that. But as far as that, like you said, I'd love to just keep inspiring people and opening people's minds. But besides that, I think it'd be cool. I did one, I think in the summer of like 2017. I did a little like national tour where I went to like a few studios and taught, and that was really fun. But I'd love one day to take it international and go to like different countries, because even though like the dance, I don't want to say the dance industry like is mainly in LA, because there's actually many huge dance heavy cities around the world. But I want to help diversify those places that are even more stuck in the past than we are. You know, even though it should be more diverse, LA is actually a lot, what is the word? It's ahead of many other places. So I'd love to travel to those places and really try to help them kind of start making that, what's the word? Starting to make those changes and make their industry where they are more diverse and more accepting, and just kind of changing the world instead of just where I live. So I'd love to just go on an international tour and, you know, teach and help inspire people and change how they think about plus size dancers or any dancers that don't fit in. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So I have two last questions for the pod. One is, what has it been like for you to be so inspiring to people, like to be an expander for people? So being on social media, having people slide into your DMs, leave these comments. I'm assuming some people have been like, you've changed my life, like all these really beautiful accolades. So what has that been like for you to be in this position? And are you happy to be in it? It sounds like you've, to some degree, like I want to inspire people and open the door. So you've chosen also to be somebody in this movement. So what has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely very what's the word, like not stressful, but it's just overwhelming. But I love it. But it's hard because I know, I'm aware that so many people are watching everything I do, which is great, and I'm glad they're supporting me and, you know, and trying to look up to me for inspiration. But on the other hand, it's also like I'm still growing myself, and even though I'm a plus size person and a plus size dancer, I'm still evolving and I'm still learning how to be a positive role model for other people, and I'm still human and I make mistakes. So it is a lot of pressure, but I'm glad that I have that pressure because I take my platform and what I do very seriously, and I think over everything before I do it and how it could impact people. But I think that's a good quality to have, and I think we should think about our actions and what we say and things like that. I'm very lucky, and it can be overwhelming, but I just have to remember that I'm so lucky to have the platform I do. And if I'm the person that other people decide to look up to for inspiration, whether that's body positivity or just dance or just being confident, I love that, and I'm very grateful. And what else? I don't know. Social media is just a crazy world. And I'm not gonna lie, some days I'm like, I wish social media didn't exist. I wish we could just delete it all and just be like humans and human interaction. But at the same time, like I've said 1,000 times, I'm very lucky, and I'm so happy that I have opportunity to change people's lives. And two stories that I actually want to say, I'll try to keep them quick. One is very, very like serious, but one is very lighthearted. So I'll do the serious one. Trigger warning, it does involve like self-harm. So just so you know, that I will be talking about that in this story. But there was a teenage girl and she was in the hospital. She had just tried to commit suicide, and she DM'd me and she was like, hey, I just found your videos and like you made me smile and you made me feel a lot better about myself. And like that's so crazy to me, because I'm just a kid who's dancing for fun. Like that's really all it is. And so the fact that you truly can have such a huge impact on people is amazing. But I think it also reminds us like how what we say and what we do really, really can affect people, even if you don't think it can. But that was really like mind opening, or like made me really remember like how much power I have. And the fact that like potentially down the line I could have helped her like be more confident and not be in that same place again, that is like crazy. And it's even crazy to like say and to think about that I literally help someone kind of come out of that state, and like I made them smile after something so traumatic and so hurtful. So that is definitely a story that like I take with me everywhere, and I'll never forget that ever. And then going on to something more lighthearted, to finish it off lighthearted, I taught a dance class in New York City, like I think 2 years ago, and there was a woman there, and I want to say she was maybe like 40 to 50. So I loved it, but probably not like what you'd expect maybe to see in my dance class or anyone's dance class, but I loved it. And I was doing a little Q&A, and he was like, hey, this isn't a question, but I just wanted to let you know that I wore a 2-piece swimsuit for the first time at the beach the other day, and it's because I saw you in one and you looked so happy and like so confident, and so I wanted to wear one. And that was just really cool, because it's something so small, but like that's where the big change happens. It always starts with something small and then just keeps snowballing into like her changing as a person, and like just her whole self-esteem changing, and her being more confident and more loving of her body and things like that. And so that was really cool. And I just loved that. Like I always think that I'm inspiring the younger generation, and I forget that there's obviously generations older than me, and I forget that some of them are inspired by what I do, even though I'm so much younger than them. And I think that's super, super cool. And even my mom sometimes, we had a conversation one time and I literally started crying. She was like, hey, like, I know you're my daughter, but like, you inspire me too sometimes. Like, I'm not that confident in myself. And like, it's like cool to have you as a daughter, and you inspire me to be more confident. And that was just really cool, because like she's my mom, so I don't think of it like that. Like I never think, oh, I'm inspiring my mom. But it was really cool because she struggles a lot with confidence, and like she's very insecure, and so it was really cool of her to say that. And I don't know, it just reminds me again that what I do is powerful for a lot of people, and it's helping a lot of people. So that kind of also helps me keep going when other people tell me, you know, you're terrible or you don't belong there, or whatever they want to say. I think of those kinds of stories where I'm like, okay, well, if you don't like it, that's fine, but I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for the people who appreciate what I do and who need to hear and see what I'm doing. So yeah, that was a lot, but I'm done.
I loved it. It was so good. It was so good. And that last little chicken McNugget of wisdom that you just shared of like, I'm not doing it for you anyways. Right. And like, you're staying in your lane and you're focused on who it is that you're here to do it for yourself because it's fun and you love it. But also you're like, I'm not trying to make a difference for you, bro, or lady, you know, like, yeah. Okay. So last question, what are you most excited about in life right now?
Oh, most excited about in life right now? I think just like self-growth. I think in the past year, not only as like a dancer and choreographer, but as a person, I think I've grown a lot, and I've just become more aware of the world we live in, and the issues at hand, and like how I have maybe contributed to those issues and what I can do to help those communities, whether it's the Black Lives Matter movement or the Stop Asian Hate movement, or, you know, what's happening to the Muslim community, or so many different things, or the LGBTQ community. Like there's so many different communities that are so hurt right now. And I think that having so much downtime has really helped me just kind of be more aware of really what's happening in the world. And it's so easy to like be like, oh, well, that doesn't affect me or whatever. But I think it's important as someone who is very privileged to kind of acknowledge that and try to see what I can do to help. And I've just become more aware. I've gotten more educated on a ton of different things. And I think this quarantine has given a lot of people the time to learn a ton of new things that we probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn if it had not been for having so much downtime. So I think in a way that this like quarantine was needed, and I think it's gonna help the world as a whole, especially the country we live in here in the United States. So yeah, I'm just excited that I've taken the year to grow and to learn and to change as a person and to evolve. And also as a dancer choreographer, obviously there were no classes. So I kind of had to make it work. I had to really hold myself accountable and keep training and film content videos and choreograph myself. And it was a good test for me to see if, I could keep going without, being dependable of other people or like depending on other people. I only had myself. So I think it was a really good lesson and I think it challenged me. So yeah, I'm just excited to this next year. Things are opening, which is awesome. I'm excited to keep training, to try new things, to do things that make me uncomfortable, and yeah, just see what this next year holds.
I love that. Yeah, I love that so much. Yeah, very wise.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was not like you at 20. Where can everybody find you if they'd love to learn more about you and connect with you?
Sure. Okay. Oh my God, there's so many different social media apps nowadays. Okay, I'm gonna try to go through this fast. Instagram, which is my main one, if you really want to keep up with what I'm doing, is Amanda LaCount, just my name. TikTok is the new thing, so that's Amanda_LaCount. And then I have 2 YouTube channels, Amanda LaCount Dance and Amanda LaCount, which is more fun makeup vlogs, just fun videos. And then lastly, my website is amandalacount.com if you want to look at that for literally information about me.
Nice. This has been so fun. I love your energy. I love your story. You inspire me. Thank you for coming on the Love Your Bod Pod, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Love Your Bod Pod. I hope you got so much out of this episode with Amanda. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and check out another incredibly value-packed episode of the Love Your Bod Pod.